This is Crystal Blanchette, and you're watching the Break It Down show.
I'm in the Hollywood Hills. This is so cool. Your house is incredible. A couple
Thank
weeks ago, we
you.
had Chris on the show, who's your
Yes.
boyfriend, fiance, or
Yes.
you guys have significant. You guys live together and have a family
Yes.
together, right? So it was great to have him on. And I'm like, now I got to talk to you because you're just such an incredible person. Thanks
Thank
to
you.
Chandra, who introduced all of us.
Yes.
She's such a great person. Thanks for coming on the Break It Down show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun talking about what you do. So you you cook, you're a chef. You've chefed for so many people. It's like the list. I can make it super short. Prince, and then
it's like, yep.
Yeah,
That's pretty much all I guess like that matters at this moment. Yes, no, Prince. Yes,
I mean, Prince and
all kinds of great people.
Right?
Yes,
if Prince is on that list, the list is incredible.
yes,
Right from the start.
Absolutely.
How did you get that first gig?
It's so interesting. So when I started with Prince, I was actually working on my own like kind of nonprofit organization, and he was looking for a chef, and I ended up meeting an agent because I guess in LA everyone needs an agent, and I ended up meeting an agent, the chef agent, and she introduced me to who I didn't know was Prince at the time. I just knew I was going to someone's house and I was going to be cooking for someone, just kind of how it goes. You sign an NDA, you show up, and come to find out it was Prince.
What kind of a client is Prince?
Oh my gosh. Prince, let's see, kind of client. He was just pretty basic, I would say, in terms of like food. He wasn't really like adventurous, but at the same time, like he would definitely try new things. So it was fun. It was a really fun experiment, I guess, in the beginning, because I went from chef to business, and so it was really great. I had a really great time with him.
When you work with Prince, do you have a sense of comfort? Like when you first get there, there's no way, because there's no way that can be a normal world for you. And then how on call are you? Like, the whole Dave Chappelle, Charlie Murphy story, like, we're going to have pancakes and Prince says so, right? Like, are you like, what? Yeah, of course, flour, whatever. How comfortable are you and are you on call all the time?
Yeah, in the beginning it was, I would come and just cater like parties for him. And it was just, I had a time that I would make the food, and then he would show up when he wanted to. So that's just kind of like, as you're saying, like I was pretty much on call. And then once I became his full-time chef, I was definitely traveling with him. I was with him all the time, and it was pretty set hours, because if we were traveling and we were on tour, we knew like he had to eat at this time. So it wasn't really like he calls me and like, Crystal, you need to make me food now. It was more so, this is what time we're going to eat. Because we have a show, and then this is what time we'll eat after the show.
The impression that I get from learning about Prince and hearing about him is that he never slept, though. Like, he would just stay up for days on end. I mean, is that what you experienced, or did he have a fairly regular schedule?
Oh no, he never slept. But I mean, there were moments where nobody else slept because he was sleeping or because he was awake. But for the most part, he was pretty respectful, I would say. As I was the chef, like, again, I transitioned to something different, which meant that I didn't get to sleep. But during that time, he was pretty respectful of my time.
I heard a story about I think it was a football player who lived around here, and Prince rented his house for a while, and like did a lot of construction inside the house to make it what Prince needed. And the guy's like, "Hey man, what's up?" Like, he was already paying like a lot of money per month, and the Prince was like, "Man, I got you." And then like he gave him an extra $500,000. Like, when I leave, it'll be as if I was never here, which Prince is good at doing.
Yes.
So, but did you see a lot of that? Because you can look, when you're your own brand, as you know, and when you're a celebrity, everybody is looking for an angle on you.
Right.
Will Prince do me wrong? Will Prince?
Right.
But you do, like, he's just such a mystical creature.
Yes. I mean, he's definitely a mystical creature, even now to this day, right? But I will say, he was who he was, like, and he did right by you, great. And if he didn't, I'm sure he's apologizing to you from the heavens.
Yeah. You transitioned from whatever catering and that kind of thing. Did he come and talk to you, or did he just like, yeah, this person, like, does he care who you are, and does he pick you, or it's like, it's working out, that's fine, give her more work? I mean, how does how does that work? Because it doesn't seem like he's a guy that sits down. It's like, well, let's get to know each other. And
yes.
talk to you for hours.
No, definitely. There was a conversation that happened where he said, where do you see your life, and what do you want to do with your life? And it was really him that pushed me towards just understanding what business was, what it meant to be an entrepreneur for myself, and where did I get to go. And he did. I mean, we would talk for hours about my life and his, and he had a way of just making everyone feel like they were special.
So he does pitch you on the idea of you working more. Let me back up first and say this too, because you are your own CEO, right? When
yes.
you're a chef, or when you were a brand,
right.
Prince, and you have to make all these decisions about things that you shouldn't have to make decisions about, like who's going to make your food, right? Especially if you're very particular, which I had to imagine. Right. He's like, I like things a certain way at a certain time. Like I have to eat at 4 because I was at 7. I have to be, and I can't have this kind of stuff. So there's a lot to manage. Did you realize how much business knowledge you needed to have when you started into this line of work?
Not at all. I mean, like you said, when I started with him, I had an agent, so I had someone that kind of did everything for me. But as I became a little more integrated into the process and him and the business side of it, it just, I mean, it was like the sky was the limit. Like the more I could, he showed me, the more I wanted to learn. And so I just felt really supported, during that time, and understanding. And I don't know if it was supported by him per se, but it was just supported in the sense of like, this is your opportunity, so do it, And so whoever I came across was really great at just helping me understand what my new life would be in this business sense.
When you go to school and learn to be a cook or a chef, and you're designing these things, you're never thinking about Prince being again, that's such a specific thing. People like Oprah and these people that are hyper famous, and all their time is worth so much money.
Right.
Like you have to cook it a certain way, and it's just, you can't screw up 2 meals in a row.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. There's this like a little bit of pressure, but every time I cook for someone new, there's always that pressure. And even if I've been with them for years, there's still pressure of making sure that the food is what they want, and depending on their mood, they could be in a different mood and they don't want what you're feeding them. So you just have to be prepared for that.
Is it Crystal pressure, Prince pressure? Like who's applying? Like I know for me, like I run my own business.
Yes.
I'm a horrible boss. I overwork myself. I'm hard on myself. So is Crystal the problem, or is Prince the problem when it comes to pressure?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I mean, I will say that the great thing about Prince is that we all know that he hires the best of the best, right? And so like there is that honor of knowing that like I knew I was good at what I did. And so being able to be a part of that and in that space with all of these amazing people because of him, and kind of handpicked by him to be on this journey with him. So yeah, there's definitely pressure I put on myself.
When you cook for an eclectic group of musicians and everything, and they're forced to be on Prince's schedule.
Yes.
And so they show up, and gosh, there's so many people that have worked with Prince that we've even had on the show, but they all have different needs, and like I just don't like raspberries.
Yes.
Whatever it is. Do you have someone assisting you with this, like to help you manage like what Levi Caesar wants to ask?
I mean, no, not really. It's funny. It's one of those things that I just know. Like when someone tells me what their allergies are, like for the most part, I just remember them. I do have my own, way of doing writing things down and things like that. And I've had assistants that have come, support me over the years. They've been amazing. They've been with me for years, that really understand also the clients that I work with. But for him in particular, and the band, and I just knew what they liked and what they didn't like.
To run that kitchen, you need to be ready for audibles, like pancakes. Yes. Or whatever. But there's all kinds of other things. And then you also need to, I don't know, I mean, do you have to have like, whatever, Peruvian cod on hand because, you want to do something special? Like, so when you shop, can you just go to, whatever regular store? And then, like, I know if I go to Dominic's, it's the same as Safeway, it's the same as, Publix or whatever. And you try to find, how do you shop, I guess is the question.
I mean, it really depends. Like when you're in Minneapolis in the middle of nowhere, and he lived in Chanhassen. So even in Chanhassen, it's like there's very limited resources, but they have some really great also like mom and pop spaces, which is great because then people know you and there's always ways to order things and get specialty items. So you just make it work.
Yeah. And then do you have a runner? And you're like, hey, I need, turns out we had cream, but we don't have enough cream now because I'm making this thing. And so, hey, Pete, get in the truck and go buy cream.
Yes, there's always someone. There was always someone that could support. Absolutely.
And then when you're paying for food, does the credit card say Prince on it? And is it purple?
There's no purple credit card. There's no magic purple credit card. No. There's a business manager that so kindly gives money to you so that you're able to pay for that stuff.
Did Prince ever, and you don't have to talk about things, I'm not trying to be salacious, but did Prince ever have a time he's like, man, Crystal, you screwed this up bad, and like have to have a sit down and talk to him, or does he have someone else handle that? I mean, because you're not perfect, right?
Right.
I mean, you're going to make mistakes. Things are going to go bad. Things are going to be out of you're on the road. Things are going to be out of your control.
Right.
How did it go when it got adverse, and do you have any examples?
I mean, I've only had one time where he was like, no, and he like took it and put it in the trash and told me to put it outside, and that was when I made a meat substitute, and he's like, it just reminds me way too much of meat, and so that was really the only occasion. If he didn't like something, he would just say, I don't like this, and I'd make him something else. There was never just this like him throwing food or anything mean. Like, no, that never happened.
And then did you just have like a go-to Prince snack, like he loves peanut butter and jelly with grape
jelly? I mean, was he a snacker? He liked snacks, but I mean, he was really like the cookies and milk. Like that was his thing at the end of the night. Like he just loved an assortment of cookies at the end of the night.
What was something that you had to learn how to make? Because Prince is particularly like cookies. Like, oh, okay, great. I'm going to make some Sandies, some chocolate chips, some snickerdoodles. He's like, that's all the same cookie.
Right.
I don't want that. I want, other things. And I'm making Prince sound like some, what, I don't know. I'm not trying to make it sound like anything. I'm just saying that you have to have a lot of things at your command.
Right. I mean, like I said, he pretty much liked the same things, which was great. He'd try new things and sometimes he ate fish but for the most part, like I would say what I had to learn is just how to make things, because he liked the same things over and over. It was like, it could be challenging sometimes, right? Because you have these clients that are so like, either they're on a strict diet or they're, because they're on tour, like there's certain things that you have to follow these guidelines to support them and their health. So with him, it was really like, I just knew the things that he had to have, especially when he was touring. And then I knew what comfort foods he liked when he was away, or if I wasn't with him, which chef did I know that was going to support, if he's on an island somewhere, like who's going to give him all these wonderful foods. And so there was lots of opportunity for me to also bring in other people to support that.
One of the things I learned from being overseas in Iraq and everything is you have this incredible dining facility that can make you a Philly cheesesteak, any kind of fried rice you want, lasagna, different specialty night style. You can get anything. And after about 3 weeks, you're like, I've had everything.
Yes.
And it's just like, oh my God. So it's not bad, but you're just like, I'm just eating this because I need fuel in my body.
Absolutely. Where there is that, right? Like but again, some people I know for me, like the comfort foods, like, and a lot of the people I've worked for, they love the same thing over and over. And I would imagine, right, it's because you can't really get those things. Like normally, like when you're out and you're on the road, you eat, like you said, just like the fried rice, whatever, just the basic things that you would get. So when you have your chef there, it's like you want to have those things that remind you of being home.
Right. The things I craved often were sushi, the basics.
Yes.
Crazy. And then also fried chicken. But fried chicken in chow hall is never any good because it just sits in a hot pan.
Right. It's like soggy chicken.
Roasted, It is, getting soggy. It just stays there for
oh, no.
Like the breading is never the way you want it.
Right.
And maybe I'm like an elitist when it comes to fried chicken. But I just don't want a bunch of stuff. I just want it to be lightly fried.
Yes.
And you never can find that because the recipe for the military is you will then take, one chicken breast.
Right.
Buy all these things. And so I would have fried chicken, but it would never quite be the same.
Oh, yes. It's funny that you bring up fried chicken. Someone asked me yesterday, what's your favorite food? I'm like, fried chicken.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love fried chicken? But anyway, so yeah, just that whole idea of being able, because like when you're traveling, right? Like even having this is different, or you're in Italy and this is different and this is not the same. So all the recipes are different because you don't have all the ingredients that you need. So it's just you create whatever vision you can in your mind and put it on a plate.
I get a sense that the relationship with Prince became more complicated. You want to go into that at all? Or?
I mean, sure. Like, I mean, as far as complicated, I would say we just, like any other relationship, you know, I myself probably had a similar relationship that he had with most people. The difference is just me, you know, and so, yeah, it was tough. You know, we had our moments that were tough but we had a lot of beautiful moments as well.
Yeah. And he is demanding of himself.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to demand a lot of yourself. And there's just a lot of, I would imagine, not only crystal pressure, but your own, like, this is Prince. I can't screw this. And it's also your reputation too.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, and I saw it, like, when you're in that kind of space with someone, it's very intimate, right? When you're feeding people. And so there's a lot, you hear things, you see things, and things are shared with you. And so it's kind of like the hairstylist or your barber, right? Like, it's like that intimacy. And so I think for us, we just had a very special relationship. And I'm love him so much for what he helped create for me and my career, both in business and as a chef. But I also know that he had his own demons, you know, that he was fighting. And so I'm just grateful to have been able to be a part of his life when I was.
Were you working with him when he passed?
No.
How was that when he died?
For me?
Yeah.
It was devastating. I had just had a baby. And so just the idea of kind of working through all of that in my head took years, you know, and for me to process it. And I don't even think, like, I don't remember crying, like, for the first, I don't know, few months or year, because I felt so numb. And although I don't want to say I was prepared, because I wasn't, I mean, who was prepared for that? But, like, I knew things were not going well, you know, for him. And so I did my best to support how I could. And like, he made his choices.
He lives a very hard lifestyle if you want to stay alive for a long time.
Yes.
And there's just a lot of things you have to put yourself through. You know, he's the ultimate entertainer. You know, years of being hard on your body. Not
absolutely.
These things add up. Plus all of the opportunities to do anything.
Absolutely.
It's rough. When you did finally process losing Prince, well, let me ask you this. Do you have his phone number in your phone, and do you have, like, old text, and you can look back and be like, you know, and just kind of be good for your heart to talk about him and be present with him, even if it's the, you know, many years ago version of him? It's
interesting. I do have, I recently did an interview. Now I haven't done many. So this is another one. I'm going to count this as one that I'm doing as well. Yeah, so I have emails from him, and I have yet to go back and, like, read them. Some of them I have just because I did this documentary. I've saw some pictures, and it's really, I look at them now and it's so different than when this all first happened. You know, like, I have this, like, I had a dream about him recently the other day, and there's just, like, he comes to me now as, like, a light. And just, like, a guide. And I just have I've surrendered so much to what has happened. And now it's just joy, you know, not him passing, but the joy of the presence that he is still here. And I know that he's still here, and I know he's still watching over so many of us. And that just makes me happy.
Of all of the celebrity type people that have died in the last, you know, 5 or 6, even that year.
I know.
Everybody was going.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
I mean, oh my God! I'm not even going to get into the list.
Right. It was crazy.
Yeah. But he stands out.
Yes.
Like, it was such a big hit. I think even more so than, I mean, in the grander scheme of things, Michael's just a few years before.
Yes.
Really, you know, and to lose these two icons, I can't even, I can't think of anybody right now who, if they passed, would have as big of an impact, because Prince wasn't old, but he wasn't young.
Right.
Multi-generational.
Right.
Impact. Can you think of anybody living right now where, like, it's comparable for people who didn't get to experience Prince like we did in real time?
Right. I mean, you know, it's interesting. There's so many great artists out there, and I don't want to put any, like, juju on anyone right now, but I will say, like, there's so many that have changed, like, that I've even just been a part of, that I'm like, wow, like you're so amazing. Like you're so, and again, like I'm just saying this as in like the artists that I feel connected. I mean, Snoop is one of them that I've like had the honor of working with him and his wife, who's like, she's so amazing. But just like that influence where he's kind of just touched everybody, especially right now, like he's everywhere. And so it's just really cool like to see that. And Will.i.am is another person that I've been with working with for years, and I see so much of, especially with Will, like I see so much of Prince, like that same just like drive. But Will has such a great like balance of life, and just energetically he's just different like but the drive and just his mind, I can see it like how he's working, and it's nice. Like it's nice when I get to be in that space again, and that creative, and seeing what Will is creating. It's pretty amazing. And I know, he obviously Prince was one of his idols, and Prince loved him, so it's really kind of cool.
I want to close the Prince part out. Okay. Is there anything else you want to say about Prince? And then we'll just move on to it, because there's so many other people to talk to.
Yes.
I just wanted to spend a little bit of time with that, because we all need more Prince in our life.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I mean, I'll just say this. Like I said, I've had over the last like year or two, it's been really beautiful to be able to talk about him in a sense of like he's still creating magic even though he's not here, and that's pretty legendary.
It is pretty legendary. He's got that vault full of music that's coming.
He's got that vault, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. So, okay, you cook for a lot of people.
I have.
And you mentioned Snoop, you mentioned Will.i.am. Again, like every name on the list, because it's all people like that.
Yes.
But when you got the call from your agent's like, hey, so and so wants you to cook for him.
Yes.
Who just like, you're like, what? Like, no, this can't be true. Make sure you call back and double check.
Yes. Funny thing is, I will say, so Chef Tabitha, who is the executive chef for Will Smith, she called me several years ago and was like, hey, I have an opportunity for you. We're looking for another chef. I would really love for you to work with him specifically. And I was like, okay. And so time kind of went on, and then I got the call, and she's like, hey, he's on set. Like, are you open to doing this? And I was like, yeah. And so that was an amazing, like, I will say, opportunity. And he is such a kind, like, regardless of what is happening in life, like, he is such a kind soul. And watching him say hello to everyone on set, down to the security guards, us, like the chefs, like, I mean, it was just beautiful, that experience. And his whole team, who I still work with, his team, like, I just adore them. And that was one of those moments, because I would say to myself, like, where do you go from like Prince and Will, and like, and then I was like, oh, another Will. So great.
Yeah. Will Smith has proven over and over and over again to just be this outstanding guy who does say hi to everybody on the set. And there are, like, in the world that you're in, there is the star, and then there's the person.
Yes.
Right? And you get to kind of ride that line in between, where a lot of times they're just
the person. Absolutely.
Drop down there. So do you feel like, is that part of your job to be like, not the bartender, but like the person they can confide in, and not big secret, but just, hey, you don't have to be Prince here. You can just chill out.
Right.
You don't have to be Will Smith. You can just be Will.
Right. The funny thing is that I think for me, they don't have to say it per se. They just are. You know what I mean? Like, because it's like when you're cooking in someone's home, or even at a studio, like at Will's studio, it's like that's his space. So they're already in their comfort. And so I think for me, it's more so like you just said, I don't know people as like even with Prince, like I didn't know Prince as like Prince, right? Like, I mean, I knew him obviously, but when I started with him, and even like down to the end, it was our relationship was him and I and a couple other people, so I traveled with him, or, I was with him. So all of the settings are intimate because you're feeding people. And so the conversations, or whether they're in meetings or whatever, it's always intimate in that space.
You are the chef, though, so it is your kitchen. and like when I'm setting up, I told you, like, hey, let me focus. I'll kind of chat with you, but I have to do my
Yes.
thing, right? This is my kitchen right here, right? And so when you are cooking for Will Smith or Will.i.am, especially if you guys are on the road and you're
Right.
like, you've got timelines, you've
Right.
got a very complicated problem and things to cook. Do you have any problem at all being like, get out, leave me alone? I don't care who it is. I mean, how do you manage the managing of your stuff?
Right. Nope. You are in their space. Like, you know what I mean? And at home, I can say like it's my kitchen, which is totally fine. But in their kitchen is their kitchen. And that's okay. Like I make the time and you multitask, and I have 2 kids, and you just learn to make it work.
Yeah. What's a problem that you get from working with these people that is always like, because it's work, right?
Yes.
There's still work involved, and you're like, oh, I hate this part of my job,
Yes.
And you don't have to tell me about that if you don't want to, but I'm just curious because it's work at some point for everybody.
Oh, yes.
Your spatulas, and you're like, I gotta go grab my damn spatula.
Yeah, I mean, for just like for anybody, there are moments where you were cooking for 1 person and now you're cooking for 10, so there are those moments, and you just have to go with the flow. I would say like part of what works for me as a chef is that I love food and I love feeding people, and so like I don't get irritated or annoyed at those, when someone's like, I have more people coming. It's just I'm just prepared for it and I make it happen. So yeah, I don't really know in terms of like what I would say that's annoying. I guess like getting a call if I'm on vacation or something.
Yeah. How beholden to that though are you? Like that fact that you work for them and you're on vacation, like, hey, I'm calling you. Like, look, one of the things in this town is you're the person that they call until you say no, and
Yes.
they may not start calling you.
Yes.
They may not call you.
Yes. I've gotten to the point in my career where I'm like, you know what? Like I work for people that respect boundaries,
Okay.
And I've been in this business long enough. It's over 15 years. So I think for me, because I have a respect for myself, I choose the people that I work for, and I make sure that I deliver what they need for me, and they do the same.
That is not an easy discipline to create, right? Because if you're a writer of songs, and they're like, well, we're coming to you to write songs. Well, I'm taking this month off.
Yes.
They don't want to hear that. You may have contracts
Yes.
and all these other things. So you want your time to be yours, but it's very difficult. And you know this.
Yes.
You know the people.
Absolutely.
It's very difficult to say no to things.
Yes. And I agree. I will say for myself, I used to be a yes all the time. I was a yes to everything. And what I realized is that I was getting burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything always seems to work itself out. Right? I'm going to say that again. Everything always seems to work itself out, right? Even those moments where I have anxiety and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Or how am I going to deliver this? Or what's going to happen? Or this is supposed to go this way. And honestly, it always works. So
when we first met, you told me you were retired. Celebrity chef, right? And so how retired are you? And is it because it is an extra grind to pick up and go on the road, and it is a high demand job where there's stress or anything? Or what makes, because you're so young, what are you, like 22 years old? But you are young. What makes you want to give that up and do other things?
Yeah, so I actually, for me, retiring in this space, like I have a couple clients that I'll keep around, but for the most part, it is I'm moving on, which is what Prince's intention was for me, was to create my own businesses, and that's why I'm launching Inner City Kitchen, which is a food hall project in South Central, and where we will support the community in providing healthy food and healthy food options, entertainment space for the community, and that means a lot to me because that's kind of where I started. Right. I've always worked as a celebrity chef, or worked in entertainment, I should say, from the moment I got out of culinary school, and so taking a step back, or worked with athletes, so taking a step back and going back to the root of my intention for going to culinary school was to actually provide healthy food to my community. And so now here I am starting back over in that space and creating this.
The food hall idea is great. It also gives these emerging chefs or like food trucks, this way to set up somewhere. But it's not an easy place to do business necessarily, and I hate to be like super negative about this, but someone like Nipsey Hussle was investing back into his community, and then his community, ultimately kills him, right? Like it's just this challenge because life can be so hard for so many different people, and LA is it's a disparate place.
Yes.
how do you manage the aspects of like, this is not gentrification, this is for us. Like,
Yes.
let me see these chefs. And you talked about your ideas on how to manage this because, gosh, it just seems like the better you do, the more other people are trying to tear you down.
Right. Well, what I've come up with to support the community is allowing the community to invest in profit sharing.
Okay.
And my thought was the reason I wanted to do this was because I could understand, even from my own standpoint, like what it was like to see things come into the community and not have a say in it, not be able to put money into it, not be able to support, whether it was $500 or $1 million or whatever the case may be.
Right.
It just was never open. That opportunity was never open. And now we're moving into a lot of where crowdfunding or profit sharing or things like that. And so I think that this creates an opportunity for people that are in the community that are saying, hey, I want this. Like, I want to be able to have a place to go to that I could say I have ownership in.
Yeah. One of the hardest things about evolving your business from, say, a food truck or, one of the incredible online, like, I make tamales.
Yes.
Come on. They have all these incredible things, right? Like brick and mortar. I have to bring people to my spot. Like,
Yes.
And you have so much knowledge in that. How do you transfer that capacity and give people the confidence to say, you can open up in this food hall, and then, and then now you have to compete, but you're in this place where you can compete well.
Yes. I mean, really, I see like Magic Johnson did it so well. I know for him, even opening up a movie theater, people were like, people in this community don't want a movie theater. Right. And, he has one of the highest grossing movie theaters in the country, and the reason being is because people do want it, and people do want the option to have this. And so, especially for a restaurateur that either has a space and wants to open a second space, this is an opportunity. There would be smaller units, but it's great because it can say you have a second unit, or for someone who's been looking forward to opening something and the pandemic hit and they weren't able to do it, so just being able to even give that opportunity. And we're partnering with USC as well to support through this and providing nutrition classes for those that are looking to shift their ways of cooking so that they have healthier food options on the menu. That's also a requirement to be able to have a food stall, in the facility. So we're doing the best that we can to make sure that we're setting people up to win.
So hopefully there's a rush of entrepreneurial chefs that want to open up. How do you manage the demand? Like, hey, we can't all serve whatever it is, tacos or whatever the popular thing.
Yes. So South Central right now is majority Black, brown, and Asian. Okay. And so what we're doing is obviously creating what I like and then what we know the community, has brought to us and things that they like. And then we're also offering an opportunity to have a pop-up. So we're going to do chefs come in, hopefully like a Veggie Girl. I'm going to throw that out there, or like a Miss Mendocino Farms. But just something that would never think like, oh, I'm going to go be in South Central and have, a pop-up. And then we'll invite different chefs to come out, like a Roy Choi, come out and introduce, although Roy's been in the community, but that's why I guess he comes to mind, but just introducing foods back into the community and something new. And it gives a rotating chefs an opportunity to promote themselves and just keeps it fun.
One of the things I hear often, and I think I've seen you write about this too, and I'm going to do a terrible job of explaining this, but I'm going to do my best, is especially in the Black community, the concept of actually eating healthy foods all the time is a norm. It's very common to see the opposite of that, whereas like this mass consumption of, things that are not good for you, right? How do you evolve a culture like that has, so many people promoting something that isn't as good? And you do see like the foodborne problems in middle age coming through when in any kind of community, not that South Central's not capable of doing this, but any kind of low-income communities, they're just, it's hard to keep track of, like, the rules change so many times, like, oh, now this is bad, now this is good, eggs, goodness gracious. How do you evolve that cultural food consumption concept into something healthy?
Well, here's the interesting thing. I believe that there are a lot of people in South Central that actually do eat healthy, that do or want to, it's whether or not they have the option or the choices, right, to do it. So either you're cooking at home, but say you're a mom that's busy, and it's like you just want to go and grab something quick.
Yeah.
Of course, your options are going to be something like, a McDonald's or whatnot, because it's easy.
Yeah.
And so we're just trying to create that space where it's easy access to healthy foods that are affordable. And like I said, there's lots of people in the community that are already vegans that don't eat red meat or don't eat pork or don't eat, so it's just there. We don't see that, right? Because we only see what we're shown.
What's packaged.
Exactly.
Yeah. Boy, that's great. I love that answer, because it does help to explain, like, how, when you see just, you want people to do well, and eating well is a big part of that. You put in the good fuel in your body so you can go and study or work or whatever it is. Yeah. It's great to have that. You said affordable. I know if I go out and buy a sandwich anywhere in LA, it's $21. How do you defeat that?
We are working through that, because for us, it's just, nobody wants to pay $20 for a sandwich, and so although we are also, fighting up against the economy and things shifting and food prices going up and things like that. So we're working with local farms, produce companies, and as well as butchery, and, to support what we need to allow people to have access to these foods. One of the things that's really what people don't realize, and what happened during the pandemic in South Central, they lost their main sources of food. So their grocery stores were taken out, Ralph's, Albertsons, things like that. So now you're talking about, not only do you don't have access to healthy food, now you've taken out all the rest of our resources, or for the most part, most of them, not all. And so it's really like baffling to me, where someone would come in and say, well, the pandemic hits, I'm gonna take the grocery store. It's like, come on. So
yeah, it's a hard thing to manage, and we're struggling with energy, and how to move things, and how to fertilize things, and all these things are tied into our attempts to use less petrochemicals. And it's getting hard. Like even chlorine now, we're like, God, there's a lot of chlorine. This turns out is essential to how we live our lives, and we're trying to reduce the amount of chlorine we produce. This can make it really hard to start not only your business, but 20 other businesses around it.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing, is that we are having conversations, with scientists, and, again, we're so fortunate to have partners that are work, at USC, or went to USC, or work in urban development and urban planning. And so we have these conversations all the time. What is this actually going to look like? What do the numbers look like? Where are we going to be in 5 years? And because we're here to support, we're not here to, have another empty building.
Yeah, totally. Hey, we're talking to Crystal. She has this, here's her link. Here's her link tree. Go there. You can find everything out about her. She's also an author. You can go find her book. It talks about breastfeeding. It's got the word titties in it. I like that. It's my word of the year. You can also go to Instagram and find her there. And then, of course, I have to mention Save the Brave, Ride for the Brave. We're going to be in the Ride for the Brave starting on the 22nd of July. And we'll be riding from Temecula to Tucson, El Paso, Odessa, Dallas, Houston, New Orleans, Birmingham, Alabama, Atlanta, Georgia, and then we'll stop in Charleston. If you want to get involved, go to savethebrave.org, or just hit me at peterbreakitdownshow.com. You want to ride with me, you want to ride with us, you want to contribute money, you want to kick in for gas, any of these things, we're glad to take your support. And then and I'm doing this year in honor of my brother who passed away, a veteran from suicide. So it's really powerful for me this year, in this dedication that we keep trying to fight this fight of getting veterans to not want to kill themselves, and then obviously supporting their families once something happens. So if that's not your thing, and to honor my brother, do your thing a little harder, whatever it is. What if you're into animal charities or homeless people, whatever it is, do your thing a little bit harder. And that's how you can honor me and my ride without having to, just find your charity and work a little harder at it. All right, let me get back to Crystal. The whole thing with South Central and the vibe there, right? Like you can't just have a sterile food environment, and I mean sterile, like in terms of culturally, like obviously you want to have a clean cooking environment, but what's gonna, do you know what building it is, and then what's going to go up around it? What's the feel going to be?
So we're looking at 3 buildings right now, and really the feel is to support those who are not going to the stadium. So God bless them. We love the stadium. We're so happy to have the Rams and the Chargers here. in Los Angeles. And again, we're looking at affordable, right?
Right.
And so we want a place like when you think of like Cheers, like
Yeah.
that was the thing that we thought of, like where people are like, I'm here all the time. I get to go watch the game, whatever, football, basketball, baseball.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
we're really inclusive in terms of sports, and so that's what we're looking at. That the environment gets to be located to a train station so that people have access to public transportation, parking,
Yeah.
things like that. So we've really thought about how this is going to work so that
Yeah.
people feel like this is what I'm doing, during the week or a Friday night and or Saturday or even on a Sunday.
You have all these great resources. One of the thing about Southern California is everything's here. You
Mhm.
have USC, which probably, I have no idea, probably has the world's leading like restaurateur program or something, right? And if not, then UCLA has it.
Yes.
And if not, then Fullerton. Oh, and they probably all have one,
Yes.
And so you have all these assets that you can draw from, right? And people that want to help and they're like, oh, this is my passion. Someone finally asked, So who's been brought into the team to help advise that you're like, I never would have thought about any of these elements, but they're crucial to our success?
I mean, right now we're working with a gentleman by the name of Edward Vecito, and he's so great. Like he's been up in San Francisco. He's done this before. He's just a restaurant guru, and really understands food halls. And so we brought him in to help consult and support us in building this. And then just our investors, like the investors that we are working with are some really great folks, which we'll get to announce soon. But there are some really great folks that understand food.
Yeah.
They've been in the industry and are really supporting not just financially, but from a mentor space as well.
If there's one thing that Southern California has a lot of, it's restaurants. So many of them.
Yes, it does.
And everybody's trying to open their next branch. And so,
Yes.
boy, is it a competitive market. I mean, I love a good food hall, but I don't necessarily feel like I need to go back to a food hall. Like I go there, I check it out, great. And then
Right.
but there's so many options, I can go somewhere else.
Right. Well, the thing is, too, is what we're offering is not just the food hall, right? So we have a vertical garden that we're going to be putting on the roof. We're offering cooking classes. We're offering, there's a coffee shop. There's all kinds of things that we're going to do there. There's an event space. We're planning on having events there in the evenings, live bands and things like that, DJs and all kinds of. So it's really it's going to be this space. Like I said, it's like a home away from home.
Yeah.
Like it's Cheers.
Yeah. The other side of this is that because everything is here, if the right people write about it in the LA Times, you get covered in KTLA, and you're like, hey, we just opened. Give us a minute. And there's no stopping. Like there's going to be 1 million people coming.
Oh, yeah.
It's
oh, yeah. Oh, no, we're not going to stop it. That's the plan. The plan is to drive traffic, there and to be ready, right? Just like any other restaurant or things like that. Like it's going to have its hiccups, and we know that, and we're prepared for that.
Yeah.
And that's the least of our concerns.
But do these chefs get like how to service? Like if this thing explodes, like, hey, you don't have time to slow cook your ribs for 15 hours. Like you've got to be ready with stuff to put on the plate. Because if this thing explodes, it's going to be lines out the. It's like going to Philippe's before a Dodger game.
Right.
Like they're geared for that, and they'll get all those people through in time.
Absolutely. And I think it's, a matter of, like we said, who we put into place in terms of the vendors.
Yeah.
And, we're there to support. We're there to, make sure that they succeed. And so part of that is having honest conversations and knowing that they'll be fine. They'll be able to make it.
Good. The celebrity chef thing is still there for you though. Like, is it like almost like a drug you have to wean yourself off of? Like, no, I'm going to do other things. Or like, are you open to taking some clients, but because you're trying to run a food hall.
Yes.
And it's not the only project you've got. You love a project. So talk about how you're going to balance your time and then say no to some things that you want to say yes to.
Yes. I mean, there is that luxury, right? Of like, when you work with someone knowing that you're going to get paid every day, And so there is that. But for me, yes, I mean, I have that internal battle, just like, wow, I'm stepping into something completely different than I'm used to. But also I have the support of my clients. And, right now, like I said, it just seems to work itself out always. I have my clients are gone, so I'm like, my focus is on my other businesses. And when they're back, I have great partners. Yeah. So I'm able to do what I need to do.
You're also a mom. Just FYI.
I am.
So you have so many things to go and deal with, right? I mean, managing a life, and Chris is busy all the time doing things, and they're trying to do it. It's a lot.
Yes.
Are you overworking yourself?
No, I mean, I will say, let's see, what's overworked as a woman? It's like, oh, that's a good question. But I will say for me, especially with the kids, I wanted to create a life where I was able to be with my children. And that's what I've done, And so even with the clients that I have right now, I make sure that it works around my kids' schedule. That's it. And those are for me, like, I'm not the new chef starting out that has to work a million hours to make it happen. I just choose not to take those positions.
Yeah. No, good for you. And it's good to have the confidence, but to have that actually work out, because not everybody is that fortunate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. What's the biggest lesson in life you learned from Prince or any of your clients as you watch these hyper successful people go about their lives?
Ask for what you want.
Okay.
Ask for what you want is a big one for me. I've spent many years behind other people, and working for these amazing people and not realizing that I'm great also, and even though it, and I'm obviously not Prince, or I'm not, Will, but I am myself, and I'm my own, kind of creature of creating something magical. And so Prince used to tell me all the time, what you do is so great, feeding people.
Yeah.
That's an art, and it's so beautiful that you're able to give people food.
Yeah.
And for years it didn't make sense, and now that I'm older, I completely understand what he was talking about.
You've also worked with famous people who have so many limitations on what their life can be.
Yes.
Prince couldn't go to the grocery store and try to decide what he was going to have for dinner.
Yes.
He wasn't allowed to do that.
Right.
He can say, go get me some lobster, and you get there and you're like, not lobster today. He's never going to get what he wants, right? He can't make his mind up on things. And Will.i.am can't just, they can't do things because they're so famous.
Right.
So I'm sure you've gotten rid of any kind of like my desire to be famous, but you are in your own right very notable and famous. Yeah. Like you're like how like you can be so like your best friend DJ Rashida is like super famous, but most people in the world have never heard of her, right? And here she is. She's worked for a list.
Everyone.
Yeah, Prince, Oprah, the president,
yes.
the president Obama. I mean, it's crazy. So have you whooped that monster where you're like, I am totally fine being home for my kids and being these things, and I've seen what super fame is like, and no thanks.
Right. I mean, because again, there's famous, right? There's like Prince famous or Will, and then there's just being recognized for the work that you do, and so I'm like perfectly fine in like behind the scenes, just making things happen, and that's okay with me.
Yeah. Would you take on like a TV show though if they came to you and said, hey, we want you to do that, you've had this success, and would you allow more access to you? When you walk across the street, like Jay Moore is a friend of mine, and if we walk around the mall by his house, he can still walk around, but every single time, someone's gonna be like, "Hey, there's Jay," and he's got to take the moment to be Jay and go back to being my friend later.
I love that. I love that. We're having discussions around that and what that could look like, a television show for me, and I have an idea of something. It's not necessarily highlighting what I do, but other moms. So we're working on that right now.
Mom stuff. Okay, so let's talk to the moms. It's so easy. And I'm not the big cooker in our house, but I've watched and I help. It's so easy to cook for 25 minutes, 20 minutes, and put out an incredible, like the number of meals you can cook in under 30 minutes is infinite.
Absolutely. One of the things I love to make things easy.
Okay.
I'm not the rib smoker. I have my, Chris does that. He likes the, taking his time and doing all that, and which is great. Let's put a really amazing meal on the table in 30 minutes. Because again, I have limited time. My kids have limited time, Chris has limited time. So we want to make sure that we're able to, really enjoy each other. Chris and I cook together all the time, which is also really nice. So it's not just on me, but I think easy is great.
What's your favorite go-to restaurant for you guys around here?
Oof. That's let's see. I mean, we love Korean barbecue. Okay. We love anything that's like Mexican food. Like I would say right now our go-to is sushi. So our one of our favorite spots is a spot here in Studio City that's just like they know us there. It's great. It's easy. The kids love it. So I would say sushi.
Where you guys are situated too, really, the Valley and Hollywood are
Yes.
6 and 1 half a dozen, right? It can be in
It could be
lot of
anything.
places fast.
Oh yeah, we have lots of options here, but Chris is a creature of habit, so he likes what he likes, and I'm a chef, so I'm just like, man, let's see like what happens. So he's definitely the one that like studies a restaurant, and we should try this or we should try that, and I'm like, okay, sounds good.
Is there anything that you don't like that you try out? Like, oh, you know what? I do not like goulash or whatever. Is there a kind of food that you're not into?
I'm definitely not into liver, and I'll keep trying it.
Yeah.
If someone has a great liver recipe or a restaurant I should try, let me know.
Yeah. This is hilarious. So my buddy Greg and I deployed to Bosnia, and he was on the show. He was the last guest I had on, right? And so I'm like, the best meal I ever had in combat was a smoked liver, fresh bread, beer, and we drank it by a giant dung pile. And we're just like, and we're like, oh my God, this is so good.
Oh my gosh.
It was the best. I mean, and it was liver, and I really had never had liver in other than like liver and onions, like standard dish that nobody likes. But we had this thing, and it was so good. And then the liver had just been butchered out of the pig that was alive when we got there. You know? Like it was an incredible meal, even though it was liver. So how funny is that comes up twice in like 2 days?
It's like the liver. Yeah. Like I said, I might have to go out there and say, if this is the best liver, I have to go to Bosnia to get the best liver. No, it really is like liver and it doesn't sit well with me.
That's fine. Guilty pleasure where you're like, I'm a chef. I hope nobody sees me here.
Like I said, fried chicken is like my jam. I just love it. I've always loved it. I'm very particular about where I eat it, but I will say there are no restaurants where I'm like, they're the best fried chicken, but my stepdad makes the best fried chicken I've ever had.
So when you say, okay, I love fried chicken too, and I'm hardly ever satisfied. Like I always love it, Yes. But and I hate to say, like I'll go eat Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I'm like, this is so good. I love it. But like I said, I don't like it to be too much extra breading on it. I want the chicken to do a lot of the work, but I just want that extra crisp, extra spice, right?
Yes.
How do you describe your perfect chicken?
I mean, here's the thing. I'm with you. I like just the perfect amount of spices. And I do fried chicken. I make some mean fried chicken. But I will say something. I don't know what my stepdad does, but it's so good. I'm going to have to force him to give me that recipe.
Yeah. Some of the best fried chicken I ever had in Iraq.
I believe it. House. You know what? Actually, some of the best fried chicken I ever had, Ireland. Which is where fried chicken originated, where became famous. I should say. True? It is true. Wow. It's actually I want to say it was the Chinese that did it, but Ireland was really the space where they like kind of elevated the fried chicken. So
Will.i.am, Will Smith, any of the Wills comes to you when you're working from there, like, oh yeah, hey, can you whip together a trifle? And like this multi-tiered dessert. Do you like eye roll and be like, yeah, I'll get right on that, see you in an hour? It's
funny because I am not that chef for them. I'm the chef where they hired because they need to be healthy. So they've got, other really great chefs that, have worked with them. Will is different. But Will.i.am is different. But Will Smith, like I said, Tabitha and her team, they're so amazing. They feed all of them, at the house. And she has been just she's one of my business partners in another project that I have. And she's also someone that I've really learned from and how to elevate, my style of doing things. And I mean, from making pudding look beautiful, like she's really absolutely stunning. Yes, exactly.
Okay, listen, we're almost done. I just want to give you a chance at any final words, any questions you want to ask me, anything else at all before we wrap it up. And thank you for hosting us here and talking. It's been such a blast. Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you to you. I mean, you have such a fascinating life. I hope we get to continue these interviews.
If we get to like chicken, I'll be back.
Yes, why not? We'll have a fried chicken cook-off. But no, I just am grateful to be here. And like I said, an opportunity to have a healthy conversation about Prince just makes me really happy. So thank you for that.
Yeah, we love Prince. All right, stand by. Hey, thanks for watching the show. I really appreciate it. Right here, you can subscribe. Please do that. It makes the show grow. Hit that notification bell so you know which incredible guest is coming up next. Down below is the PayPal link. You can put a small subscription in. That is an enormous help. All that money goes right back into the show. And then right up over here are the next episodes you should listen to, curated by yours truly. Thank you.